Uh-oh. We can't hear
No, hold
Bob.
on.
What's happening? Bob?
Oh,
There you are.
Yay.
Okay, Bob.
Yay.
All
Okay.
right.
Oh, by the way, Stephanie, your screen is frozen up.
Ah!
I'm joking. I'm joking. I have two questions. I have two very important questions for you, Stephanie.
Yes.
One, have you pooped today?
Yes.
And two, how much did you weigh after you pooped?
Thank you for asking. Thank you. Listen, this is
Okay.
my Jody Hamilton and my special language. I didn't realize
The world is waiting.
Well, you
for
know,
the
it's the first
answer.
time I realized, Bob, how completely full of I am. Is I'm like, wow, I just lost a pound pooping. That is amazing. I am completely full of. All right, it's a thing.
See, that's what I come to Twitter for.
Yeah.
That's why I go to Twitter. I need to get Stephanie Miller's poop updates and Jody Hamilton's poop updates.
Post poop
because
weight. Right.
America has to know. We have to have. We can never forget.
And then, oh, by the way, Trish of
Robin Trish.
right, tried to jump in, and I'm like, you weigh as much as a parakeet, so shut up. And Rob was like, I can weigh you on my digital coffee scale.
There are coffee scales?
Something, yeah. Apparently, Rob has one.
All right.
He's fancy. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
Bob.
I mean, during the break, you were eating a watermelon, and I was like, "Well, that's your 2 calories for today."
Yeah.
So
I eat
you're not going to be
seriously.
able to eat the
I
rest of
eat
the day.
constantly. I really do. I eat ginormous amounts. That was like a Flintstone-sized watermelon. That was my
It
first
was. It
serving
was
of the
like
day.
You put it on the side of the car, and the car
It
tipped
tipped
over.
over. It tipped over my car.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bob, wow,
Yes.
wow. So you wrote and tweeted all kinds of great stuff, and then the news happened yesterday. I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Always.
Wow.
Always.
Um,
Hey, look, if you want something to happen in the news, wait until about 5 minutes after my show ends, because that's when all
Yes.
the big news
Yeah.
happens. Right
Yes.
when.
Right.
So it makes my show entirely outdated. The shelf life is like 4 seconds.
But this is, like I was saying, Bob, why I like to write to Glenn Kirshner or somebody on Twitter, which we already read, because I'm never going to go with, Bill Barr did the right thing. Like, no, first of all, he didn't want this to be relieved. Right. It was over his objection that Judge Howell, released this thing. And what I was going to say about him saying there was no fraud in the election. I mean, Bob, you can't, I guess he could, but you can't produce the evidence that's not there. It's like, again, did he have any choice to state the obvious that there is absolutely zero evidence presented in any court in the United States? I mean, of course he can't say. So anyway, I think that was the bone that John Durham, this will go on forever. And yes, Mr. President, we'll get in the Biden administration, we'll get to the bottom of this Russia thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is my favorite thing in the world, because everyone is turning on Bill Barr. All of the red hats are out for Bill Barr.
Yeah.
Like Lou Dobbs was talking about how, is Bill Barr compromised? I mean, this is how far they've gone. Yeah. They're attacking this guy who we know is a villain, who we know has spent his entire time as Attorney General doing nothing but backstopping Donald Trump and making bad news go away. That's been his job, the dustbuster.
How about obvious Russian asset, Senator Ron Johnson? Ron Johnson said the Attorney General should show everybody his evidence about no mass fraud because there's enough suspicions and irregularities. Asked if he's not satisfied with Barr's conclusion, Johnson added, I think there's still enough questions outstanding. So he would like to be shown the evidence of no evidence. That's what he would like to see.
Yeah, exactly. This is the scene in Dumb and Dumber where he says, what are the chances we're going to end up together? Well, 1 in a million. Oh, so you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
That's exactly what they're going for. But I also love yesterday with Bill Barr, what he did was he pieces of bad news for the Red Hats and Trump and everybody, and then he had to give them a balloon to make it all go down easier. He's like, here's a balloon. Here's the John Durham special counsel announcement, which was just. This was entirely about giving the people their cookie, because it was the lollipop at the end of the doctor's visit, the pediatrician visit. Mm-hmm. They're so upset about the other things, about the investigation and all the rest of it. Had to do the special counsel thing. By the way,
once again, Bob, it's not because he's a good guy that he didn't do what Trump wanted and investigate, Biden or the Hunter Biden or whatever. It's because there was no there. Right. Even Bill Barr can't go, like, how am I going to prosecute with no evidence? I mean, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I love Julia tweets, according to the unsealed opinion from D.C. District Court, federal investigators are reviewing over 50 digital data devices, media devices, seized as part of the probe into the secret lobbying scheme to seek a pardon from White House officials. I mean, the mind sort of reels, right? Like,
oh, yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, can you imagine what we would have been in for a second Trump term?
Oh, my
I mean,
God.
that's. I mean, given the fact that here we are in the transition, and there's already another potentially impeachable crime
my God.
happening during the transition into another administration. Of course, it's going to happen this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
They simply can't avoid it. Trump always makes things worse for Trump, and this is another case where
Yeah.
they're trying to. I mean, it's all a big grift. I mean, everything they're doing right now is a cynical cash grab.
170 million he's raised. Like,
Yeah.
these poor people. I'm sorry. I know you can go, oh, screw them. They're. I mean, it is extraordinary
which
that they
is what
just
I
keep
say,
giving him
yeah.
money. That
Well-
it's like, I'm going to fight this election, and they literally think it's going. They interviewed. I saw a piece on CNN last night. They interviewed people that think he's going to. I'm still with him. He's going to pull this out. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
These are the same people that send their life savings to the evangelical preachers
Yes.
that they see on TV.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is, in fact, that's the origin. I believe that's the origin of the entire modern conservative movement.
Yes.
Which is to build upon this naivete, this sucker mentality that we see with traveling faith healers,
Right.
other kinds of sort of tent show evangelicals who these people give their life savings away to these faith healers and so on. And so the Republican Party comes along and says,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? We got to get in on that action.
Yes,
and
Kenneth,
so we've seen that. We've seen that with Glenn Beck and others who actually style their entire on-air presence around being like a preacher, being like a revival Christianity
I was going to say,
preacher.
as Kenneth Copeland, as imagined by Hal Sparks and Sexy Liberal, just $20. If you could just send me $20 right now.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
but
yeah.
Steve Bannon's going to go to prison for it. Like, we're going to privately build a 3,000-mile wall. Send us money for that. I mean, it is astounding, and that they've given him $170 million. That it says in the fine print. This just goes to Trump.
Right.
Probably. I mean.
I mean, because they think that the United States is on its way out. I mean, Steve Bannon always talks about how whoever's president is just going to, quote unquote, manage the decline. That's something that Steve Bannon has already talked about. So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to grab up as much of the sucker money as they can before the whole thing collapse.
Yeah.
And that's the entire drive of specifically the Trump movement. I mean, it's become so clear right now that his whole motive was to just grab as much. He's like in one of those old, those old radio contests, Stephanie, where you have a glass booth and all the money flying around, and you have to grab as
It's
much
a smash
of the
and
money.
grab. Well, and plus the grifters are grifting each other. I mean, the fact that Rudy Giuliani is getting $20,000 a day to convince Trump that he still has a case, so he's grifting the head grifter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just is extraordinary. That,
It's like
I finally read that long Washington Post piece. I mean, it is just, he will listen to anyone that tells him what he wants to hear. And so that's how Rudy won that, because he said, oh, this is despicable. They're lying to you. You have a case, Mr. President. And so he only listens to lunatics that are taking money from him. I mean, it's just, okay.
Yeah. It's almost like an Adam Sandler movie where you just get, you rig the budget so you can hire all of your friends and give them a job for 3 months, and everyone's happy.
You. By the way, we have Georgia coming up. Ainsley Earhart frets that if mail-in ballots are not reformed, they're going to be widely used again, and a Republican president will probably never happen again. And you said, please keep telling Republicans not to vote, starting with Georgia next month. Thank you, Ainsley. I mean, I don't know what, because if Trump goes there, when is it, Saturday? He's just going to whine about himself like he always does, right? And say it was stolen. That's not exactly a get out the vote visit, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, we see example after example coming down, and this is a really good one of people willing to believe anything. I mean, it doesn't seem like much of a leap now when we see idiocracy, and they're talking about putting, a sports drink on the crops because, the sports drink has electrolytes, and, that's what plants crave. And that, it is, Bob. It is. We're not that far away. There's only a small membrane, a thin membrane separating us from full-blown idiocracy.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, we joke about it, but to me, that's the real stakes of our politics now.
Yeah.
It's either we keep winning, or it's this crazy idiocracy that thinks Donald Trump won the election.
But Georgia itself, Bob, I mean, okay, you have one of the president's lawyers joking about executing, our homeland's, our cybersecurity official who,
Oh, yeah.
who said that the election was fair. Okay. And then you had, who was this? Gabriel Sterling, who was the Republican Georgia election official yesterday.
Yes.
Who was so pissed off because they're all getting death threats. And Brad, what's his name? Ratzenfrosenmarnen.
Mrs.
Correct.
Harfenhar.
Yes, exactly. He not only is a Republican, he's made a point of, I supported Donald Trump. I donated to Donald Trump. My family, we all voted for him. And now they're all getting death threats. Okay. And this is this guy. You just have to listen. Gabriel Sterling.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGenova today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason because he was transferring a report on batches from an EMS to a county computer so he could read it. It has to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the have you left no decency, sir, moment of the entire Trump presidency. That is that thing, and it came a little bit late for a Republican to do it. It came after Donald Trump has lost his reelection campaign, but it's happened anyway. And I think history is going to remember this speech given by Gabriel Sterling yesterday as being that, the first stage in the Republican break from Donald Trump. And this was a pretty big break. But the flip side of that is we're going to see the great forgetting now, where
but
the Republicans forget everything that Trump did for the previous 4 years.
Right. But the answer, Bob, to when will this tantrum end is never. Ken Delanian says, per my NBC News colleagues, Trump may announce for 2024 on Inauguration Day. Either way, he won't attend the inauguration and does not plan to invite Biden to the White House or even call him.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to run. He's not going to run in 2024. I don't think he will. I think he'll just spend the next 4 years pretending to run.
He'll be in a big house. He'll be in a big house. He'll be in a big house for sure. It won't be white.
But I also think we shouldn't be surprised if he does actually run. I mean, remember, the rule has always been for the last 4 years that we start out by going, oh, he can't possibly do that. And then that suddenly becomes,
however,
I can't believe he just did that.
This time we have like two, like Pac-Man, if you're old enough to know Pac-Man. We have his arteries, Letitia James, Cy Vance. Okay. Okay, and you're just a...
Which one happens first? Let's see. It's like a horse race.
And let me just talk about Bob's scampery on Twitter for a minute. He retweeted, Ben Shapiro complains about the lack of diversity in Biden's communications team. Actually, it's not the most diverse team in history because there's no men. And you said Ben needs to confess once and for all. A woman pointed and laughed at his crooked, flaccid penis once, and he still hasn't recovered.
My God. I mean, you want to talk about a cynical cash grab. The entire Ben Shapiro universe is exactly that. I'm sure they're sending their podcasts out to click farms. And it's so insane how these are the thought leaders of the conservative movement now. Ben
not just
Shapiro and Candace Owens.
Not just conservative, but the Glenn Greenwald, as you pointed out, also in the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Glenn Greenwald goes off on Neera and she's totally unqualified. She's deranged and dangerous person. I don't mean politically, I mean behaviorally. And you said there's only one thing you need to know about Greenwald. He's all about disruption, and he believes anything said in the pursuit of that goal is fair game, no matter how bogus. He's a bitter crank who gets off on owning the libs. Sound familiar?
I swear to God, that's his whole MO, man. That's he's been doing that. He's been milking this persona online for, well, maybe since I've been on this show, Steph. So at least since 2013. Yeah. Glenn has taken this whole turn. I mean, he used to be well respected in the liberal blogosphere for a period of time there. And then he just went nuts. And I don't know what exactly happened to him, but he snapped.
Every time I go, how is he a liberal again? Wait a minute, this doesn't seem helpful.
Way back when, he's actually been on our show.
Oh, yes, I recall.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. Bob, speaking of which, how long have we been swapping bodily show fluids? Since, what was it?
Oh, since, I think the first time I was on the show was August of 2013.
Oh. And every time your fluid washes over me, I'm
oh my
I'm newly baptized.
Really?
in the Church of Cescaism.
Oh man, we need to hand out paper towels or something.
The Church of Cesca. I highly recommend it. The Bob Cesca Show on the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network. Love you, Bob.